Hello, my wonderful students. It is good to have you again. Welcome to another interesting topic. Make sure you have your notes and pen to jot down the important points. Remove every form of distraction and listen attentively. Sit back and enjoy the class. Once again, you are highly welcome. In today's class, we are going to study the topic Theory of Demand 1 and Theory of Demand 2. Theory of Demand is a theory designed to explain all important aspects of demand, especially laws of demand. Definitions of demand. 1. Demand refers to the quantity of a commodity that consumers are willing and able to buy at a particular price at any given point in time and place. Demand may also be defined as the ability and willingness to buy a specific quantity of goods or services at a given price and at a particular period of time. Demand is also a quantity of commodity a consumer wishes to buy at any given point in time. Meaning of theory. A theory is simply defined as an organized body of ideas, that is reasoned or well-coordinated ideas, designed to explain facts or events, especially economic problems that occur in our society. Examples of economic theories are theory of demand, theory of supply, theory of cost, theory of production. They are designed to explain economic problems. Effective and ineffective demand. In economics, demand is quite different from want or need. Want or need refers to a mere desire for a commodity but not backed up by the willingness and ability to pay for it. Want or desire can be called ineffective demand. Effective demand is defined as a desire backed up by ability and willingness to pay for specific quantities of commodity at alternate prices and within a period of time. Laws of demand. Demand laws are divided into two categories. 1. Normal demand law. The law of demand states that all things being equal, the higher the price, the lower the quantity of goods that will be demanded, and the lower the price, the higher the quantity of goods that will be demanded by the consumer. This law is often regarded as the first law of demand and supply. This law implies that price is related to quantity and demand. Abnormal law of demand. This law states that the higher the price of a commodity, the higher the quantity demanded, and the lower the price of a commodity, the lower the quantity demanded. This is the second law of demand, and it is also called exceptional demand law or abnormal demand. Exceptional demand law or abnormal demand. Demand schedule. Demand schedule can be defined as a table showing the relationship between prices and the quantity of that commodity demanded. In other words, a demand schedule is a table which shows the different quantities of a commodity that will be bought at various prices at a particular time. There are two types of demand schedule. We have individual demand schedule and market demand schedule. We have two types of demand schedule. Let's look at them. 1. Individual demand schedule. This is a table which shows the different quantities of a commodity which an individual or consumer would purchase at various prices and at a particular time. For example, Mr. Ben is a trader and has purchased several tins of milk at various prices. This is shown in this table. When the price was 100 naira, he was able to buy only 10 tins of milk. But when the price was as low as 20 naira, he was able to buy as much tins of milk. Market demand schedule. This is also known as aggregate or total or composite demand schedule. Market demand schedule is a schedule of all consumers of a commodity in a market. In other words, a market demand schedule is a table which shows the table of quantities of commodity which all consumers of that commodity are willing to buy at various prices at a particular period of time. This is shown in this example. In this demand schedule, it is assumed that only 5 consumers of milk are needed. Demand curve. This is a graph showing the relationship between the price and quantity of a commodity demanded. In other words, a demand curve may be defined as a graphic or diagrammatic representation of a demand schedule. Demand curve is derived from demand schedule. This is an example of individual demand schedule. In this individual demand schedule, at the price of 100 naira, 10 tins of milk were bought. Types of demand. 1. Derived demand. This is a situation in which a commodity is wanted not for its immediate satisfaction of one, but because of the demand for another commodity. It is also the type of demand which occurs as a result of demand for other commodities. That is, the demand for one commodity will necessitate the demand for another. For example, flour and sugar are demanded because there is demand for bread. The demand for goods and services will necessitate the demand for labor. 2. Joint or complementary demand. Joint demand is a demand which occurs when two or more commodities that are related to each other are demanded at the same time. These two commodities are said to be complementary to each other, as a change in demand for one commodity will bring out a similar change in the demand for the other. Examples of joint demand are bread and tea, bread and butter, tea and milk, car and petrol, trouser and shirt, etc. Competitive demand. When two commodities are fairly close substitute to each other, they are in competitive demand. In other words, they serve the same purpose or perform a similar function, such that an increase in the demand for one will result in a fall in the demand for the other. Examples of commodities that are in close substitute are Bonvita and Ovaltine, Malta Guinness and Maltina, Peak milk and Loyal milk. If the price of any of these commodities is high, consumers may switch over to the other close substitutes. Composite demand. Demand is said to be composite. Commodity is required to serve two or more purposes, or when a commodity is wanted to satisfy different ones. For example, palm oil may be demanded for cooking food, manufacturing of soap and pomade. Sugar is widely used at home for beverages as well as in industries for making bread, cake, biscuits, etc. Therefore, sugar and palm oil may be wanted because of various purposes. Factors affecting demand. 1. Price. We have many factors that affect demand, but we are going to study some of them. One of them is price. The higher the price of any commodity, the lower the quantity that will be demanded. The lower the price of any commodity, the higher the quantity that will be demanded. That is, more goods are demanded when prices are low. People buy a lot of goods when prices are low. The price of other commodity. The price of another commodity can affect the demand for a particular item. This occurs when such goods are either substitute or complement. In the case of substitute, a rise in the price of one may cause increase in the demand for the other. If goods are complementary, a rise in one reduces demand for the other. For example, Peak milk, Loyal milk, Dano milk are examples of substitutes. Bread and butter are examples of complementary. Income of the consumer. The most important factor influencing demand for a product is consumers' income. The higher the income of a consumer, the higher the quantity of goods that he or she will demand. The lower the income of the consumer, the lower the quantity of goods that will be demanded. If a consumer has a lot of money, he or she will buy more goods. But if the income of the consumer is small, he will buy small goods. Change in taste and fashion. People's demand changes according to their tastes. If consumers change their taste for a particular commodity, the demand for that commodity will also change. That is, increase or decrease. Also, the demand of people according to the reigning fashions of the day. A change of fashion or taste against a commodity causes a fall in its demand. People demand things according to the reigning fashions of the day. Periods of festivals. People demand for more commodities during festivals like Christmas and Easter, Ramadan. During the period of festivals, demand for certain goods, example rice, chicken, ram, clothes, etc. rises very high, irrespective of increase in their prices. The demand for such products fall after the festival period. Weather and climate. Variations in weather and climate or season may affect the demand for certain commodities. A certain climatic commodity, prevailing weather causes a rise in demand for some goods and a fall in demand for others. For example, heavy rainfall causes a high demand for umbrellas, raincoats, rain boots, rubber shoes. Also, rainy season causes a fall in demand for goods like ice water, ice cream, fan, air condition, etc. Thanks for listening. See you